Tonight on Denver7 News at 6, the Grizzly Rose is plucked.
Whatever is happening is not working.
Congress takes aim at meatpacking plants for putting workers in harm's way.
Families beg to be reunited with loved ones in nursing homes.
When do we get to go? When do we get to be with them?
And Summit County took care of its own. Then it focused on helping the neighbors.
COVID doesn't really care about borders. And so, we're all in this together.
Good evening, and thanks for watching Denver7. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're here tonight. Well, Congress will investigate whether JBS and other meatpacking plants are doing enough to protect employees from getting sick. Denver7 Chief Investigator Tony Kowalewski spent the better part of a year hearing from JBS workers and looking into the company's practices in Greeley.
And Tony, this investigation is as much about what JBS did as what the Trump administration did not.
Yeah, Ann and Shannon, there is no question this select subcommittee took a direct shot at the Trump administration and OSHA, essentially saying employee safety was not a priority, a fact we've reported on since last March.
This was long overdue.
She's the union president. She spent the last year fighting for thousands of employees. Is this a wake-up call for JBS?
It should be.
Kim Cordova is responding to the news out of our nation's capital. A select subcommittee announcing an investigation into meatpacking plants nationwide.
There's been a lot of failures around this whole pandemic and the virus, and workers paid the ultimate price.
According to the committee's investigation, take a close look at these numbers nationwide. 54,000 workers at 569 meatpacking plants in the U.S. have tested positive for the coronavirus. At least 270 have died. Since the outbreak, the JBS plant in Greeley was designated as a hotspot for the virus, with more than 400 testing positive and 7 deaths.
I want them to know that those employees are in danger.
Our investigation included testimonials from employees, family members, and the governor.
This is a business where they've lost people who have died because of the virus. They know how serious this is. There is no real excuse for not taking every precaution they can to keep their workers and their business safe.
The House subcommittee sent this 5-page letter to the president of JBS. It includes 11 paragraphs of demands for documents and information, specifically citing the JBS plant in Greeley for what OSHA determined, quote, failed to protect employees from exposure to coronavirus.
These big packers, they profited greatly off of this pandemic while workers were sick inside these facilities. And OSHA failed them.
JBS again declined to answer our questions. In a statement, the company writes, it welcomes the opportunity to provide information. It cites spending more than $200 million in health and safety interventions, and it lists other payments and benefits it's provided its workers.
All of the money that they've put out is never going to resurrect those dead workers.
Now, the union president does acknowledge that JBS has improved safety since last March, but she says the company has still failed to provide employees with the highest levels of PPE equipment. She's also calling on the state and the governor to make employees of the JBS plant a priority so they can get the vaccine as soon as possible. Shannon?
Tony Kowalewski tonight. Tony, thanks. 5 Denver businesses were cited for COVID safety violations over the weekend. Reavers was over capacity, Key Insight Construction, Traverse Fitness, Talking Book Publishers, and Wyatt's Towing were all cited because people weren't wearing masks.
The Grizzly Rose has closed following Saturday's ill-advised hootenanny. Tri-County Health says the owner called them this morning and said he would voluntarily shut down next weekend. And he could be closed for even longer. The health department said today this isn't their first time dealing with the country bar and suggested it could well be their last.
We could issue an order to close until such time as we determine that you can operate in compliance, followed by potential court action. We could seek a temporary restraining order in court and have a judge order them to comply or close.
The Grizzly Rose has a capacity limit of 50 people. Anyone who was there on Saturday should get tested, and soon.
And Grizzly Rose aside, Coloradans are taking this seriously. 884 cases were confirmed today, and 600 people are in the hospital. Now, 385 deaths were reported However, those numbers are almost certainly the result of an extensive backlog. In fact, the state is so optimistic about our current course, it's considering reworking the approach to restrictions.
It makes sense if you think about the lifespan of a pandemic, that there are different interventions depending on where you are. Now we're in a place where healthcare workers and are most vulnerable, are most likely to die or be hospitalized, are becoming vaccinated. And so it's a different place than 6 months ago when the Dow was built in partnership with communities.
And ideally, the first to receive the vaccine would also be the first to enjoy lighter restrictions.
But as Contact Denver7's Jacqueline Allen learned today, there is nothing ideal about our current situation.
We had a wonderful life.
The life Mike and Gretchen Samuels built together.
Got married right after graduation.
Left no regrets. Their bucket list complete.
In August of 2017, we got the diagnosis that he had frontotemporal dementia. That kind of changed everything.
November 2019, Mike entered memory care just before the pandemic. Since then, outdoor visits only from a distance.
Not being able to go in and touch him or hug him or spend any kind of time with him has just been heartbreaking.
Has he gone downhill faster?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt.
For so many separated, the vaccine seemed the only way out. But now, the first to be vaccinated remain in isolation with the most human of questions.
When do we get to go? When do we get to be with them? I want to be able to hug him, sit in bed with him and watch TV, just talk to him, help him, touch him is what I want to be able to do.
Contact Denver7 went looking for answers. When will regular visitation start up again?
We do have a little time before that will be occurring.
In a news conference, state health leaders say federal guidance still has not been issued about post-vaccine visitation. Is there a timeline?
Probably within the next 2 weeks, I imagine we'll hear more from CMS and the CDC.
For Gretchen, weeks of waiting means losing precious time she and Mike will never get back.
Because my husband is dying. So every single day he disappears. Every day that I lose is a day that I won't have with him here.
Contact Denver7 is hearing about another challenge too. State health leaders tell me staff at these care facilities have a relatively low rate of vaccination. They're refusing to get the shots, and that could be another barrier to lifting these visitation restrictions. For Contact Denver7, I'm Jacqueline Allen.
So difficult. Well, Colorado has officially reopened its unemployment system to gig workers and the self-employed. The Labor Department tells us it's already awarded back pay to 70,000 people and had 62,000 users log on today. If you do have trouble accessing your benefits, and we've already heard from some who have, please either call us or send us an email, contact7@denverchannel.com.
10 Senate Republicans met with President Biden today in a push toward a more conservative COVID relief package. Their $618 billion plan calls for $300 a week in federal unemployment benefits and $1,000 stimulus payments. Now, respectfully, that is $100 and $400 less than what the Biden administration is pushing for. The Republican plan would also allocate $20 billion for schools and $50 for small businesses. It says nothing of added support for states and cities, a key provision of President Biden's $1.9 trillion aid package.
Well, Pitkin County will roll back restrictions tomorrow. That county spent the last 2 weeks in level red, and it's paid off. COVID numbers have dived, and restaurants should be serving customers indoors by lunchtime.
Summit County's distribution of the vaccines going so well, it's now sharing. Denver7's Gary Broad explains.
Neighbors helping neighbors.
It was a welcome surprise.
It wasn't sugar Summit County was handing out, instead a potentially life-saving vaccine, but it still felt sweet.
So it was a very welcome addition to what we were able to do.
Around January 20th, Summit County health officials realized they had more shots than they needed.
We were able to vaccinate that segment of our population quicker than we thought. And we ended up on a week where we had a pod and we had the vaccine to give out, and we weren't able to fill all of the appointments.
Director of Emergency Management for Summit County, Brian Bovaird, said they made several attempts to contact those eligible in Phase 1A, which included the 70 and up group.
And whether it was, making phone calls or working with our senior center to get the word out, we doing mailers, just everything we can to try and accommodate a population that traditionally is not as tech savvy as some of the younger generations.
Despite their efforts to vaccinate anyone eligible, they still found themselves with nearly 600 shots left over. So they called up their neighboring counties of Park and Clear Creek and split them up evenly. For the folks in Clear Creek, that donation went a long way.
We were essentially able to almost double the amount of people that we were able to vaccinate that week.
For Bovaird and the rest of Summit County, well, they're just happy to help.
It's not just a county issue, and COVID doesn't really care about borders. And so, we're all in this together.
Gary Brode, Denver7.
A man accused of shooting 2 people at random in a Nevada Dollar General store is now in trouble with the feds as well. Documents obtained by Denver7 claim Johnny McCaslin shot a man and woman without provocation. That woman was in a wheelchair. Both survived. McCaslin was already charged with attempted murder in Adams County and is considered a suspect in at least 2 recent shootings in Denver. And since he's a felon, he'll also face federal charges for a gun allegedly found in his home during this investigation.
A Denver man will spend the next 3 years on probation for selling psychedelic mushrooms. That's actually getting off lightly, considering the feds wanted prison time. Cole Milner was nabbed by the feds after giving local and national media outlets a tour of his operations. He was arrested by federal agents shortly after Denver voted to decriminalize the drug. A quick programming note before we head to break. We know many of you are busy, sometimes miss the news at 6 or 10 o'clock.
So as of tonight, we're also going to bring you the news at 8. Jessica Porter anchors Monday through Friday on our sister station, KCDO Local 3. We sure hope you join us.
Coming up, Boulder gets the 5-star treatment.
It's a game changer for their ability to operate and to make money.
And Nikola Jokic reminds us there's still one superstar left in Denver.
That's good. A really warm Tuesday coming up, but after that, a chance for snow.